1978 Halloween. Summary: 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois to kill again. Directed by John Carpenter, written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. Um, I always kind of, I was always kind of like about this movie, but it is way better than I remembered it last time I watched it. Like, because the shape is kind of there's not much personality to Michael Myers. Like, really, there's not much there, and I know that's the purpose. That's the whole purpose of the thing. But I enjoyed it quite a bit more than I ever have. Maybe it was because I was watching it for a review, and so I was keeping an eye out for little things and whatever I could notice that might be interesting to talk about. I do think it's weird that everybody kind of points to Halloween 2 as being, that's where you see Michael Myers really driving a fucking car, right? Like, like they always point out to that, but like he's in a car a lot in this, and and I honestly don't think that that's the craziest thing that he does, because remember how he escapes the hospital? He like runs at the car, jumps on top of it in a road,
pole vaults, yeah,
and smacks that woman through the window or whatever, and then he hops off like a nimble little man and jumps into the car and steals it. That's way out of character for this dude, but who am
And
I?
then he never does it again.
Never wants to see display that sort of athleticism. But
and probably the only time he'll be considered a nimble little man. But I enjoy that.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was who that was. Was that what's his name? Nick
Castle. Nick Castle.
You think that was Nick Castle or a stuntman?
It may have been, because he was a stuntman, right?
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Yeah. Or was it? So was it to maybe Tony Moran? Maybe they got him in there. Because
I was wondering that too.
He's a real prick, right? Yeah.
I don't know. Is he?
Yeah. You gotta look up a little bit of his interactions with fans. Yeah, that's interesting.
Wow. For such a small. Well, and I feel the same way about who was the first Jason.
Ari
Lehman. Yeah,
Ari Lehman. Yeah.
From what I know of him, he came to our local record store here, and some of the people that were associated with our video group were kind of assigned to him to help him, find food or whatever around the town. He was like real strict vegan, and like we're not in really a vegan area of Ohio, right. So they were trying to find something, and I think the only thing they could find was some Chinese food restaurant, but still, how vegan is that? But anyways, I heard he was kind of an asshole, but regardless, they all worked really hard in creating this Illinois fall kind of feel, but they're in California. So right. Like that, I really took note of how the production took care to sprinkle leaves in front of the camera. And I heard they actually had Robert Englund on set one day spreading leaves around for John Carpenter, which is kind of funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love how the one girl's dad is a cop, and they smoke weed, and he pokes his head in the car, doesn't say shit, doesn't smell it, doesn't say, hey, this is weird.
This is 78. He probably thought it's on me.
But yeah, like this movie, it really is a template for slashers that followed it, because even though Carpenter was influenced a lot from Black Christmas, it's nothing like that movie. Like the way he shot it, that movie's almost like a first person shooter kind of point of view from the killer, and very strange. I want to see the background on how they shot that, because it seems like that would have been very difficult to do. But regardless, Carpenter puts his fingerprints on this. This is like his style. It's got his own style to it, and you can tell the difference between this one and part 2 just from that standpoint. The director, but yeah, this movie's like a cozy little holiday favorite. I think that Donald Pleasance could have had a few more lines. It seems like all his lines were just him describing why he calls Michael it. Every time he was talking, it was like he would say something about it just must be stopped or whatever, and then he'd have to, well, why don't you call him he's a man, right? Like it was like most of the time. But yeah, I mean, I cannot do anything other than just give this a 10. It is, despite I don't enjoy it as much as other movies, but it's for a slasher, it is like the meat and potatoes of that genre. So it's a 10. I mean, it influenced so many people to make movies that I love more than this movie, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Alex, what do you say?
Well, I'm gonna give it a 10 right off the bat. Just I know I probably should have waited to the end, but it's definitely a classic, and a lot of people call it a proto slasher, but I mean, honestly, there were like giallo films and other things, and like you mentioned, Black Christmas before that. They kind of led up to what Carpenter called the babysitter murders. Another point when you said when he leaped over the station wagon at the back, I got on the roof and then he busted the window. I don't know if you've ever noticed. I think there's a wrench taped to his hand right there when he he palms the window. Yeah, or some kind of a tool. But that was an interesting fact. And you said what was it, Sheriff Brackett? So yeah, definitely he probably had smoked beforehand and thought he was worried that they were going to smell it on him. That was my theory. But the store break-in, that always fascinated me. And this time around, so what they stole was, let's see, they got rope, Halloween masks, plural, and a set of knives. So I thought that was kind of interesting looking back on it, wondering did he take numerous masks, or was that really him? Was it a bunch of kids in the town?
And what the hell was the mask branded as? Because I know it was Captain Kirk
Shatner
mask that was like messed with. They fucked with it and stuff. But what do you suppose the packaging said on that mask?
That's an interesting question. That's a good one,
because it's not the only one.
Right.
In the second movie, there's a guy that gets killed and he's wearing one too.
Yeah. So Benjamin Tramer.
So his is a little bit different. His has like blonde hair and stuff. You know,
his has blonde hair. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
And the hair, the whole mask deteriorated by the time part 2 came around. So that's why.
But they both bought him they got him at the same store, John.
Right.
And there had to be a thing on it that said like nighttime ghoul or like
it probably said
boogeyman. Boogeyman, there you go.
Okay, either that, what we should have is, though, that's what we want to see in Halloween Ends, is where the mask says nighttime ghoul and underneath it boogeyman in parentheses.
By Silver Shamrock
novel.
Silver Shamrock.
Uncle Touchy.
Oh, the off-brand.
Oh man. Well, okay, so I guess the other, and I kind of added in here, I watched a little bit of the have you ever seen the uncut television version? Okay. Yep. So it shows him as a little boy in the institute and he's kind of sitting there and everything in it, and we can cuss on this, right?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. But so it always begs the question to me that him taking a shit, taking a piss, you know, he's got to do these things, Michael, right? So does he wear a diaper? I've always thought, does he wear a diaper? Is he used to that from the Institute, right?
What does he know is what I want to know. What does he know how to do? Because I know that we're not talking about part 2, but there's a part in part 2 where a lady is bled out with an IV that's stuck into her vein. And I guess Michael Myers did that, but I've seen trained nurses stick somebody like 20 times.
Well, when you're in an institution for 30 years, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah. You've probably seen it 1,000 times. So.
Yeah, he's done nothing but observe. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how he's he'd be a master at Tetris, the way he kind of puts the bodies here and there and they hang down and drop and everything. So
much work put into all of that.
Yeah. Very artistic in a lot of ways. Also, and I know we'll never get to see this, but I always think about the behind the scenes parts of part one, like when he ate that dog. You know, when they saw the dog and they were like, he's been hungry. Damn him. Can you just imagine him lifting his mask up like Spider-Man, you know, and being like,
oh yeah, this is so good. Oh. And why couldn't he just find food somewhere?
Right.
The dude's in everybody's fucking business. He couldn't just open a fridge somewhere and get a sandwich.
Part two, the lady's making a goddamn sandwich.
Exactly.
Nope.
I forget her name. I should have written that down. But yeah. Oh, real quick, two more things. In the end, I thought it was interesting. You know, he's always like, I shot him 6 times, 6 times. I counted 7. I watched it 3 times and rewound it 7 times. And then, of course, the old thing when he's shooting him, he goes up the ramp. You know, you can see him there's the rail, but he's obviously on top of the rail when he falls. So the ramp that he walks up is kind of obvious. And the very last thing, 2 more things. I'm sorry. The comic book names, when Laurie is talking to Tommy, she talks about, and I'm a superhero fan too, but she talks about, she's obviously making these up in the script. Neutron Man, Laser Man, Tarantula Man. So those 3, we've got to come up with some actual heroes that exist in that universe.
Well,
that's the Carpenter verse officially.
Yes, Carpenterverse heroes.
Tarantula Man.
Yes. And literally the last thing that I'll say, and then that's the end of mine. But when the graveyard owner is, you know, he's walking Loomis to the graveyard, and they notice the grave's empty and it's been dug up and the stone is moved. He starts to talk about a dude and he says, Charlie Bowles, this old dude from Russellville, which is like 15 minutes away from here. And he talks about one night he went to the garage, grabbed a knife or a saw, I can't remember, came back in, told his wife and kids goodbye, and it's ... And that's the end of that story. So in the universe of Michael Myers, this dude, the town over, did something horrible to his family or somebody else, and we never find anything out about that.
Right.
But the name of Charlie Bowles, that was one of John Carpenter's ex-girlfriend's dads.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And he will never mention anything about the dude in any interview.
That's
I thought that was pretty fascinating, but that's all I got. I give it a 10 out of 10 as always.
Right on. Yeah, now that I think about it, Donald Pleasance was fucking with that gun constantly, man. It was like his like putting bullets in it, taking bullets out. Anyway.
He added an extra chamber. That's what it was.
That's his just in
case.
He was doing the video game in-game.
Always pointing it at fucking people. I'm like, I've been around guns my whole life. You don't point guns at people unless you're going to shoot them. You know,
it makes
you don't use it as a pointer.
Get your ass away from there!
Yeah. Run! Like, bro, what are you doing?
They could have used the scene where he was practicing, because he did hit Michael Myers every single bullet.
Yeah,
they should have had him like pinging some beer cans off some fence or something.
Oh, like Laurie was doing in 2018.
Yeah. John, what give us what you got.
All right, so this is one that goes way back for me. This was one of the ones my dad introduced me to on VHS. And it's also when I got older and new media came out and stuff, it was also one of the ones that I first saw that remastering hurt because it lightened everything up. So the one scene in particular is when it's right after Laurie finds all 3 of the people in the house, and she's like crying, and there's a dark doorway right behind her. And then slowly, Michael comes into view. Well, he's really in view a lot of the time, way longer. And it just kind of kills the mood. They fixed it a little bit on Blu-ray, but I just remember being a little bummed about DVD for a little bit there when I first saw that. Because the grit and the grain on the VHS and stuff, everything was so much darker. That movie was so much scarier on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, that's just like, just a little observation I have. This movie is in the realm of the proto slasher. It's the proto 80s slasher.
Yeah, good call.
So, even though it came out in 78, but it's a couple years later, everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So, I love Donald Pleasance. I like him in pretty much anything he's in. Loved him in this. I would really have loved in the Rob Zombie version, they touch on it kind of, but not nearly to the extent. I would love to have seen his Loomis, what he went through and how he came from all this education, all this just time spent studying, that what led him to be like, all right, this kid's the fucking devil. Like, I want to know what broke him. Like, what I want to see that. I want to see that aha moment where he's like, all right, listen.
So you're talking about a young Loomis? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 15 years. I want to see that 15 years.
Oh, they're gonna, after they do Halloween Ends, they're just gonna do it's just gonna be called Loomis, and it'll just be
I'm all right with that. I'm all right with
it'll
that.
be one of them
It's an
stranger
interesting part of the story. I would like he's a man of learning.
Yeah.
Crazies go around saying he's he's evil. He's pure evil. He's a learned therapist. He's a psychologist.
Evil.
No, you're fucking evil.
Yeah.
These degrees, I piss on him, I shit on him, I set him on fire. All that money, nothing. I want to see what led him to that.
Yeah. Probably divorce.
Maybe he's like, you ruined my life.
Yeah.
Michael. 6 times, Michael.
He took everything from me.
7 times.
Oh, that he got divorced, because there was
if he was even married.
I bet he was. He's at an age where he would have been married, and then what happened was he got obsessed with this boy with the black eyes, and then he'd come home every day and be like, honey, I don't know what the fuck, and she'd be like, can you stop talking about this kid, for God's sakes? 15.
He gets so focused on cracking that kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably covered his refrigerator with some of Michael's art. And she was like, God damn.
I've got to figure him out.
He has like a father complex with him.
Yeah. He's got like string and shit going on the fucking.
It's like him in a car with
Happy Father's Day cards.
And it's like, what does it mean? I think it means he wants out of the fucking insane asylum.
He doesn't like it here.
Yeah,
he's the devil.
This movie still has effective creepy moments, especially, and it's always been this for me, where Loomis and the nurse are riding up to the gates, right when the music starts. It shows the people walking outside, and then the music's playing. It's so creepy. They're moving super slow and like just I don't know. They're really ghostly. They're
like cattle.
It's haunted.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just so weird. And then it was because I just remember it was nothing, and then the lightning flashes, and you see them, and the music starts playing, and it was just so creepy. The editing in this movie is top notch.
Yeah.
And the music, I mean, John Carpenter was just fucking around on a piano. And he came up with this. That's it. 3 or 4 notes.
Right.
Repeated.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious.
I
heard somebody talking about seeing John Carpenter live do his music and comparing it to watching Goblin live. And they're like, it is so boring to watch John Carpenter live. And I bet it is. He's like
without a movie, or like,
no, they're playing the movie behind him.
Concert?
They're playing the movie behind him, and he does have a drummer and a bass player, whatever he needs, but he's playing a synthesizer. And just think about all his scores; they're all like
the
just
same.
And then Goblin's like it's like they're really getting into some grooves and shit, and like hitting all kinds of stuff. I would love to see Goblin live. I mean,
well,
But
To be
They're
fair,
fun.
Carpenter's always stoned, so he thinks he's 10 times more interesting than he is when he's playing.
Like that Family Guy episode,
yeah,
handful of peanuts.
Yeah.
That band.
I like his stuff. I mean, I do list. I have some of his collections on my
Yeah.
Spotify shit. I listen to it, but I definitely will skip if he's droning on a little song.
Well, and then Goblin, you tied in two Donald Pleasance roles. You know,
Oh yeah,
his doctor in Creepers or Phenomena when he's in the wheelchair with the chimpanzee. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. He could have
Yeah.
used the chimpanzee in these fucking movies.
Yeah.
I would have really liked it a lot.
With the
Razor
razor,
blade
with the
wheel,
razor
yeah.
blade.
Oh
Bobo.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's who could take down Michael Myers. Who better?
Yes.
Who better?
Yes.
It'll
Yes.
just eat his face off.
Yeah,
I mean,
then we'll see
we
that.
all know that
That's
when
Jordan Peele's Halloween.
we all know that the razor blades are just laying in trash cans. So
Oh yeah, perfectly
yeah.
shiny,
Yeah.
ready to go, just ready to rumble.
It's ready to rock.
So
Just
here's
on
a
the top.
question. Here's a question. What the fuck kind of plans did Linda, Bob, Annie, and Paul have? Were they gonna fucking swing? They gonna do a chain? They gonna run a
You
train?
know,
Like what is the are they just gonna bone in the same house? Is that what the deal
that's
is?
probably what it is.
Is that it?
Yeah, I've boned in the same house with a lot of people, and
And
that's
that's just
usually
like and that's
everybody
like an
goes off.
event. That's an event. Linda and
Yeah.
Bob had to
Yeah.
drive that kick-ass van that'll never be driven again over to that house. And then
Yeah.
What there's one line that always bothered me though when Bob's talking to is it Linda, right? PJ Souls, and he's like, they're in the van and they're like, yeah, we'll get your clothes off, we'll get my clothes off, we'll get Lindsay's clothes off, and then it occurred to you that's the kid, that's the girl, that's the girl.
Yeah. But he
gotta
was
go
just
back.
being a fucking weirdo, I think.
I
Yeah.
know.
But he was just making a joke, and it was
Too
funny.
far.
Yeah. She thought it was a blast.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah. That was one of the coolest kills and reveals of Bob when he got pinned. Obviously, that's you know.
And that speaking of Michael Myers being an artist, he really does step back to take a look at his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He's like,
And I like when all of a sudden his corpse comes swinging down out of nowhere. You hear like a weird sound, and then he's swinging back and forth. That was awesome. I really like that one. But yeah, this was a 10 for me. It spawned some awesome, not so awesome sequels, but more importantly, it spawned like just thousands of films after.
yeah.
So, you know, so many more that we love today, and still today, people still cite it as a driving influence.
We would not have had Slumber Party Massacre 2 without Halloween.
Right.
This is true.
Good point.
Yeah. Like,
can you imagine Michael using that guitar?
Oh man.
Well, I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to cut.
Yo, no, I'm done.
Okay,
Go for it.
The thing about this one that I love is the entire nostalgia of the first time I ever saw it. I think we can all agree that's probably the coolest part. I mean, the movie is good, but there has been so many since then that it's kind of worn its originality out.
Right.
But I'll never forget. It's like this time of year, TBS, Up All Night. You know, I mean, all those channels, and I think it was TBS. But
USA used to play marathons.
Yeah, maybe it was USA.
AMC still does.
I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, did they put 3 in there? Because I don't think they did. I think they skipped right to like 4.
They would always skip 3.
They always did Michael Myers.
Because I didn't see 3 until much later. So
me neither. And so I was like probably 10 the first time I saw this, maybe 11. It was late at night. My dad had fallen asleep. It was Halloweenish, time, and they were playing horror movies. And I watched this thing from beginning to end. And the thing that always gets me, and I rewatched it again, for this, and it still gets me, is the music, like you were talking about. That music, man, there's something about it. I don't know what it is. It's like it makes me uncomfortable the entire time.
Mhm.
So I'm on like the edge of my seat from the minute the music starts till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I can't think of many movies that affect me like that. It's not really about the gore or the kills. It's about the atmosphere of this one. Especially this first one, it really gets you, just some people trying to have a good time. Next thing you know, you've got a giant lumbering monster in your house stabbing you with your own fucking kitchenware, dude. It's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And as a young kid, it really got me. And this was the first time I had seen Jamie Lee Curtis in anything. Later, I would find her in comedies and stuff,
Yeah,
obviously, right?
trading places.
Trading
Places, we all know.
Ah.
But I always had this thing like not now. She's way too into Activia for me now.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But
she's kind
at
of
that
a
time, I was
yeah.
like, "There's something about this girl. I like it. I like what she's doing. She's got books. She's smart. She's not. She'll scream, but she's not just screaming she has purpose.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
She's not
so
just screaming because of the Activia.
exactly, yeah. That's later, when her tum tum's all messed up.
In these new movies,
Yeah,
she's
the newer movies.
her whole anger in these new movies is all her just
Yeah.
bowels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for me, it was like it's one of those times where you're rooting for her, and you're genuinely scared the first time you see this thing that she's going to die because everybody has died.
She better fucking die in the next.
And yeah, and yeah, you're right. Here we are, 40 years later, bitch still alive.
She fell
there's
off a
something-
roof in the first reimagining. That would have
Yeah.
killed any normal 70-year-old woman. I don't
Well,
know.
we don't talk about that. So, but yeah, but I just so yeah. You guys have touched on all the things about that make the movie great, the inner workings of it, the way it's shot. But for me, I'll never forget that one night where I'm sitting in my house. I'm basically by myself. Everybody's asleep, and I'm genuinely terrified of this fucking nutcase killing people. And I was hooked, man. I was hooked. I've watched every one of them, and I've never complained. I'm like, I'm just glad they're still making them, So, I mean, Halloween Kills, not so much my speed, but I watched it and I enjoyed it. I just don't think it's a good movie,
I think that they really should have
Yeah.
I don't know, let
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis go into the woods or whatever. Get a new woman in there. He should have been able to kill this woman by now. Or what the fuck? He's killed entire rooms of people, and he can't get this one woman. It's like Tom and Jerry shit at this point.
It is. It's pretty crazy. But I love everything about this movie. The atmosphere the most. The music's amazing for the end. And you're right. It kicked off. We would not have the movies that we love today without this thing, I believe, because this one killed it at the box office. Siskel and fucking Ebert gave this movie a 2 thumbs up. You know what I mean? And yeah, and they fucking hate horror movies. If you watch that, yeah.
I mean, this was a truly scary film.
Yes.
Like it was, this was new.
So I gave it a 10 out of 10. It for me is a perfect. I spent $29 and got this one on 4K. John, I'm sorry. You're right. That scene you can see him clear as shit now.
Yeah, right.
But I loved it. It's in my rotation every year. So that's that.
That's that. I've already reviewed the movies that we're talking about. Why don't you guys kick it off and talk about Halloween 1978, review it, and rate it out of 10.
I'll let Jay or Michael talk.
Oh yeah, Michael, you wanna get in on this? He's gonna communicate.
Oh, he's committed. Like this is great.
Well, what do we got here?
Uh-oh.
That's a good score.
That's true. I agree, Michael. I agree.
Oh shit. So Elliot, go ahead, kick it off.
Well, no, I mean, Jay, if you want to get, like I said,
Yeah, Jay, go ahead, whoever.
Yeah, Jay, I talked a lot.
Yeah, you just talked a bunch.
Halloween is like, we got to say first off, it's not the original slasher. We know that there's elements in the giallo, and there's elements of the Black Christmas before that, Peeping Tom, other stuff. But even Psycho to some degree has that, feel to it. But we see here is the evolution. And it's like when you can't reinvent the wheel, but you can put a wheel on a car, and then all of a sudden you've got something new. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what happened with Halloween, in my opinion. Even though you could even say it's Black Christmas before that, but the explosion with Halloween is what made it what it is. And I think, like you're talking about, all the nods to Psycho and even the music. I mean, I know that John wrote the music himself, but he knew that he had to have a score that unsettled people from Psycho. And all those guys, Carpenter, De Palma, they're students of Hitchcock, whether they went to his class or not.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I really think this is John's best movie, and I just think it is because the tension, the suspense in the first hour of the movie is insane. Like, you never see another slasher like that. You'll never see another, because it has to be amped up after that. It can't be the same. We need more juice every time. We need more kills, more blood, less of what made it great to begin with. And so, yeah, I agree with you. We were talking earlier about Halloween Ends. I think it was missing a little bit of that. That's what kind of made it sad, because it was the ending of this great thing that started in '78. And but that first movie, I love it. I watch it, not even a Halloween, probably 3, 4, 5 times a year. I watch that movie.
Yeah,
I like all of it. Even like Jamie Lee, like, it's her first movie. She's spot on. She plays it perfectly. She's a little sexy, but she's also kind of the girl next door, and she gets it. Like, this is the babysitter, And Michael has his opinions. I don't know. This is the new Michael, I guess, because the old Michael, that would be your sister, buddy. But anyway.
I agree, Jay. I really, everything you said is very true. You're right, because there's a lot of Mario Bava and the Giallo before that, and old Mario Bava was the girl who knew too much and whatever. There's a lot of things. Blood and Black Lace, of course. I think that might be the first real hardcore slasher movie in a sense, and you could see definitely echoes of Halloween in that. But yeah, I think like Halloween is like, it's just, there's so much going on. Like Carpenter's mentioned Lovecraftian and evil, and that's what Michael Myers is. And just like you said, the delicate touches of how well he builds up like the whole thing. It's like there's very few movies that do good at doing that with action or comedy. Like, it's just so flawless how he builds up this, almost like this whole symphony of horror and terror, like bit by bit by bit. And it's like, again, when I first saw that at 9 years old, it was just something I was obsessed with while being terrified. Like, just putting that on during the middle of the day, any time of the year, would creep me out. And I lived in this old farmhouse that overlooked the park, and there was always trees and leaves, and it was always like looking out the window, was like, I'm expecting to see Michael Myers like any minute. Like, it just, there's such iconic imagery that goes back to, again, a gothic, horror and literature. Algernon Blackwood has the story about a guy that goes into the trees and the woods. He becomes a part of the trees and the woods in kind of like a very pre-Lovecraftian way. So there's just so many literary references, there's cinematic references, and it's just such a perfect movie. And I definitely, I don't know if it's, I guess it is, I guess it more or less it is his best movie, because The Thing's incredible, but I don't know if it's as perfect a film as Halloween. The same, Escape from New York is one of my favorite movies, and same with the Fog. Like, those for me,
Big Trouble in Little China.
Big Trouble.
I know it's not horror, but that
I
movie
think
is
like
so
they
fucking
said,
good.
it's just like they don't match. Like, Halloween is a perfect picture from beginning to end, no matter what. It's just really a perfect picture.
But it's like comparing completely different things. It's like if he made a perfect steak and then he also made a perfect cake, two different things, but they're both perfect. So yeah. Did you guys give a rating? Is 10 out of 10? Or is there...
I give it 10. I agree with Michael. 10 out of 10. Definitely.
10.
I'm gonna go 9.5, because I just can't. I can't do it. I can't give anything 10 because I feel like nothing's perfect, and that would be a lie for me. So
Oh, man, I dropped them shits like Snoop Dogg albums, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I won't
Yeah,
give
here's
anything
what-
less than 2, and I won't give anything more
Here's
than
one that
9.
blew people away. Have you ever seen Luther the Geek? Have you ever seen that? I gave that a 10.
Wow.
If you don't know what Luther the Geek is, it's just a movie about this guy that bites the heads off of chickens, and it's a trauma movie.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
But it's weird. Anyways, Halloween 2.
For you, subject.